Sundown hit the dry earth of Dagger Creek like a whisper of sorrow. The town was little more than a string of weather-beaten buildings along a cracked road, but it held stories darker than the prairie sky. From the window of an old, leaning shack on the edge of town, Eliza may watch dust swirl in the wind. She hadn't stood on her own 2 legs in nearly 6 years, not since her father, crazed by drink and debt, shattered them in a rage. Afterward, he'd vanished, leaving her broken, ashamed, and alone at 16. Now 22, Eliza lived quiet days in a hand-cranked wheelchair fashioned by the local blacksmith. She survived by mending clothes and sketching portraits for the folks who didn't mind looking at a crippled girl. She barely spoke, but her eyes, clear as winter water, held fierce intelligence and quiet pain. She didn't expect kindness anymore. That ended the night her father broke her legs. But kindness was riding into town, tall in the saddle and alone. Chapter 2, The Cowboy Who Couldn't Give. Silas Cain rode in with nothing but a mule, a stool bag, and the echo of a dream long buried. At 35, he'd seen more war than peace. A former Union scout turned drifter, he'd spent the past 5 years drifting from ranch to ranch, never staying long enough to leave a mark. What no one knew, what he told no woman who looked his way, was that a Confederate bullet had stolen more than blood. The doctor's words rang still. You'll live, but you'll never father children. Out here, that made you half a man. He'd come to Dagger Creek to work a cattle ranch for a few months. A temporary place, like all the rest. But on his first day, when his coat tore on a splintered fence post, he asked around for someone who could stitch it. They sent him to the girl in the crooked house. Chapter 3, Needle and Thread. Eliza didn't look up right away when he entered, just held out her hand for the garment. Silas placed the coat on her lap and took in the room, neat, sparsely decorated, with handmade sketches on the wall, faces of townsfolk, animals, even the church steeple. Then his eyes dropped to her legs, twisted and bound embraces. He said nothing. You can come back tomorrow, she murmured, voice soft as worn flannel. Mind if I wait? Just for the coat, he said, gently. Cold out there tonight. She blinked, surprised. Most men couldn't stand to look at her long. He stayed silent as she stitched. When she finished, he handed her a silver coin. Thank you, Miss Eliza May, she said. Silas Cain. You do fine work, Miss Eliza. For the first time in years, she smiled. Chapter 4, Rumors and Roots. Silas started finding reasons to stop by, tearing his shirt accidentally, buying sketches for a dime, asking about people she'd drawn. Townsfolk noticed. That Cain fellow, keeping her company, old Miss Harriet whispered. She's broken and is barren, muttered Tom, the ranch hand. Maybe they suit. Eliza heard the whispers. She told herself to keep her heart guarded, but Silas was gentle in ways she didn't know men could be. He asked about her drawings. He let her speak slow. He never looked away when she struggled. One evening, she asked a question that had haunted her since 16. Does a woman who can't walk still deserve to be wanted? Silas looked her straight in the eyes. Does a man who can't have children still deserve to love? They didn't speak after that. He just held her hand until the oil lamp burned out. Chapter 5, Fire and Shadows. It happened during a dry thunderstorm. A bolt struck the church roof, and the fire spread fast, jumping from rooftop to rooftop. The townsfolk ran to form a bucket line, but when the flames reached the outskirts, Eliza's shack was next. Silas didn't hesitate. He galloped straight into the blaze, kicked open her door, and found her frantically trying to crawl to safety. He scooped her into his arms. You came back, she gasped, coughing. I'd burn with you before I left you alone in this world, he growled. When the smoke cleared, half the town was ash. Her house was gone, but she was alive, and Silas never let go of her hand. Chapter 6, The Past Returns. They move into a small cabin he built with his own 2 hands near the creek. He made it wheelchair accessible, carved steps into the creek bed, and brought her wildflowers every morning. But peace didn't last. One evening, a stranger rode into town, thin, ragged, drunk. Eliza recognized him even through the beard and the stink. Her father. "You ungrateful brat." He spat when he saw her. "You still limping? You always were weak." Silas stepped between them like a storm. "That girl has more strength in her than you ever will. She ain't even whole." "Neither am I," Silas roared. "But we belong together. Get off this land." The sheriff came and dragged the old man away. Eliza sobbed that night, not from fear, but from the weight lifting off her chest. "Why do you still want me, Silas?" she whispered. "You deserve a woman who can give you children." Silas cupped her face, tears in his eyes. "I want you, not your womb. I want your laughter, your stubbornness, your heart. Be my wife, Eliza May." She nodded, trembling. Chapter 7. Vows in the Dust. They married beneath a cottonwood tree as the wind scattered wild petals across the ground. The town showed up, some in silence, some in shame for how they treated her. The blacksmith wept like a child. The preacher read simple vows. Eliza, in a blue dress stitched by her own hand, whispered, "I do," with a voice like wind through wheat. Silas kissed her as if the whole world had finally stopped hurting. Epilogue. New roots. Years passed. Eliza took in orphans and taught them to draw. Silas trained young cowboys who had nowhere else to go. Their home became a refuge for the unwanted and the broken. One summer, as they sat watching the sunset, Eliza placed a child's drawing in his lap, a family of 4, standing in front of a cabin. "They call us Ma and Pa now," she whispered. He leaned down and kissed her forehead. "You gave me everything I never thought I could have." And in the dust of Dagger Creek, among people made of scars and steel, love found a way to bloom.